Have you ever found yourself feeling overwhelmed? Running a business can be hard. I mean, you're in charge of payroll, accounting, sales, marketing, hiring, firing. It can be overwhelming. However, what if you could learn how to endure the pain and the hardship without displaying any feelings of negativity or without complaint? That would be a superpower. And that is what today's show is all about. You see, we're joined today with today's modern stoicism expert, Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday is a best-selling author and a media strategist who dropped out of college at just the age of 19 years old to apprentice under the great Robert Greene, who's the author of the 48 Laws of Power book. And on today's show, Ryan Holiday joins us to share about his new book, Lives of the Stoics, The Art of Living, from Zeno to Marcus Aurelius. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the international best-selling author and stoicism expert, Ryan Holiday.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrivetime Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome onto the show the great Ryan Holiday. This man is an international best-selling author, and he dropped out of college at just the age of 19 to intern for the great Robert Greene. Ryan Holiday, welcome onto the Thrivetime Show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I have to ask you this. You have had epic success at this point, but you had to start somewhere. Can you kind of tell us about the humble beginnings of the Ryan Holiday Show?
Yeah, sure. I dropped out of college, as you were saying, to work for Robert Greene. Basically, I wanted to be a writer, but I wasn't really sure how one does that. And so I had this opportunity to be a research assistant for a writer. And I sort of thought, okay, look, I could stay in school and learn about writing from people who have studied writing, or I could be around someone who's actually doing writing that I admire and aspire to, sort of do myself. And so it was a, sort of a once in a lifetime opportunity, but I really learned how the craft of the profession is done. And that's, obviously served me well ever since.
Now, it's kind of a shallow human. I had to read the book, The 48 Laws of Power. I had to read it twice, Ryan, and do the audiobook to really grasp, the principles and the concepts in the book. And
Sure.
Could you maybe explain the process that Robert Greene went through to write that book or to write his books? Because Mastery, 48 Laws of Power, I mean, they are very well researched. I would love to hear what his process was like.
Yeah, he's a deep, deep thinker. So every sort of sentence you read in that book is usually, backed up by, several hundred pages of writing. So as a as a research assistant, my job was to go find, he might have an idea or he's found one example, and my job is to find more like it, to sort of go down the rabbit hole to sort of, confirm or deny or disprove what the idea is. And it was really kind of a graduate course in the classics and in history and science and psychology. But I think what Robert really is a craftsman as a writer. He's not writing in some fit of inspiration and then, just genius comes out. It's really a methodical sort of process driven, way of writing. And that's been really influential for me. It's like you have to gather the material, you have to figure out the stuff, you have to know it backwards and forward. And only then do you get to sort of sit down and do the fun part, which is write about it.
And when you're editing a book, like your new book, Lives of the Stoics, when you go through a book like yours and you edit it, how many times do you edit the book before it gets in front of readers like myself?
Like too many times to count. So basically what I do when I'm writing, I write each one of my books in pieces. So this book is 26 biographies. So there's an intro, 26 chapters, and then a conclusion. So it's 28 chapters. And so I write each one of those independently in their own document, and I edit those, many times as I'm writing, working on it. Then at some point, I'm printing them out and working on them as well. But at some point, it all gets combined into a Word document.
Yeah.
And then I edit that and I save a new draft every day. So like one of the always satisfying things for me is to like go through my Dropbox folder, and I might see that I edited, I began a combined document on, I don't know, October 1st. And then this sort of went, to the publisher in March. So I might have for every day for 4 or 5 months, been editing and re-editing and editing and re-editing. And then even that, then you're going back and forth with the editor many times. So it's really like more times than you could count. But writing is the sort of the creative kind of fulfilling part, but the editing is the refining and the polishing and the improving. And it's hard to say what's more important, honestly.
Well, I got to ask you this. I want to know, I mean, as far as versions, you said you go and you save a different version of the Word document. How many versions did you go through for like The Obstacle is the Way? Did you go through 50 versions, 100? I mean, just give us some sort of, because your books are so well researched.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up here. I'm trying to see. It would be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of versions. I mean, so look, here's The Obstacle is the Way working draft, May. Yeah, it's going, there's hundreds of these.
Hundreds.
Yeah, so it's a long, grueling process.
Now, okay, so you edit these books hundreds of times, but you are a human. So I got to ask you, when you're editing this book, are you sitting at your favorite chair? Are you a bathtub editor? Do you print it out? Do you have a pen with you? Just tell us when you're editing the book. I mean, do you like to print out the paper copy and write your notes on there? Just walk us through the mechanics of it.
Yeah, you do both, right? So you write and edit on the computer, and then at some point you print it out and you're editing it there. And then the really big transition is when you submit it to the publisher, and at some point they accept it, and then it goes through rounds of edits with them, and then there's copy edits. But then it goes into production. So then at some point you see the book sort of laid out as an actual book. And in a weird way, this is where the really serious editing begins, because you're no longer just thinking about it as like, hey, what's best? You're really thinking like, hey, how does this work on the page? How does this look on the page? So you typically do 3 passes in production, and then before the audience sees it, you also record the audiobook. So now you do a pass where you read it out loud, and in doing that, you often find a lot of changes. So again, when I say it's hard to count, it's really because you're looking at it from all these different angles on the screen, on the page, even verbally, and each time you might be only tweaking little things, but cumulatively this adds up, and it creates a vastly different book than even when you went into production.
Did you learn this from shadowing and interning with Robert Greene? Is that where you picked up your process?
Certainly, but for instance, I wrote this book a few years ago called Perennial Seller, which is about how you sort of make work that lasts. And just as an example of how this editing process works, it was in galleys. So galleys is like the last stage before it goes into print. They send and I'm sure you get them as a podcast. So sometimes they'll send you the galley, which is like an advanced copy of the book that theoretically the book shouldn't change after this. But Tim Ferriss was staying at my house. He was in town for a while, and he found the galley and he read it, and he ripped out a bunch of pages and put notes on them. And I just found these notes the other day, but like I was editing that book up even into the galley form. So media had it, and I was still making changes. And I think ultimately it made it a better book. So you don't just learn from a mentor like Robert Greene, but you learn every time you talk to one of your peers, every time you talk to someone you admire, every time, your spouse, gives you feedback. It's a profession you always have to be getting better at.
How many kids do you have? And tell us about your spouse.
I've got two young boys, one who's 4 and one's a little over 1. And my wife's name is Samantha, and we've actually been together since before I published my first book, even basically right around the time I started working for Robert. So it's she's sort of been there the entire time.
Now you're kind of an old soul. You sound like you've been on the planet for decades and decades and decades and decades. Your writing comes across that way, like it's very rich. But how old are you?
I'm 33, but I do feel like an old man.
Okay, so this is how I first heard about you. I'm obsessed with Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick is obsessed with Stoicism. And therefore, rumor has it, somehow you got involved or somehow were involved with Bill Belichick, or maybe the Patriots were reading your book and it was making its way around. You never know if what you're reading on the internet is true, but apparently your book has made it into the Patriots camp. Tell us about your connection with the Patriots, or lack thereof.
Yeah, so when The Obstacle Is the Way came out in 2014, one of the front office guys at the Patriots had read the book, and he and I connected, and he asked if I would send a bunch of copies, which I did. So it sort of went through the coaching staff on their run, on that Super Bowl run that year, and I was lucky enough, obviously, to go meet some of the folks over there, and we've had some other interactions here or there. It would be preposterous to somehow say that the books were associated with the success. To me, it's more that the ideas in the books resonate not just with ordinary people, but with people who are sort of succeeding at an elite level, which is obviously something that as an author you want to hear. You want to know that your work stands up to the stresses of the things or people that you admire.
Have you had a chance to hang out with Bill Belichick?
I've met him before, and we've talked. I certainly wouldn't say we're friends, and I wouldn't want to say he's obsessed with Stoicism. But as a sort of a student of anything and everything that can make the team better, I think that's where the books came in. And I mean, the truth is, I'm much more obsessed and a student of him than the other way around. And I write about him quite a bit in Ego is the Enemy and a little bit in the Daily Stoic. So I think what I've tried to cultivate as the books have made their way through sports and politics and, the special forces and stuff is sort of a mutual exchange of ideas as much as I could pass along to them. I'm much more interested in what I can learn from them, because that makes my next book better.
I think this next question I want to ask you, it's kind of a dumb question on the surface, but I think it'll make sense for somebody out there.
Okay.
If I'm listening and I'm not familiar with your books, you've got a lot of books now. I mean, you've written many things. You have a blog. You have a lot of podcasts. If somebody's looking into, putting their toe into the Ryan Holiday reading library, is there a particular book you would recommend? Because I know every book matters to you, and I know it's like picking your favorite kid, but do you have a book that all of our listeners should check out if they're looking for just, checking out one book of yours?
Yeah, I mean, look, I could do you one better. I mean, if someone is interested in these ideas, every day for the last 4 years, I've sent out an email. I wrote a book called The Daily Stoic in 2016, but every day since then, I've written. It's a 1-page-a-day book, so it's really an accessible book. But every day since then, I've put it out an email for free that sort of takes a meditation from history and philosophy and sort of combines them into some sort of lesson that you can meditate on, some sort of prompt for the day. And so people can sign up for that for free at dailystoic.com/email. And, hundreds of thousands of people all over the world get it. But it's really sort of a preview of what the book is, which is 1 page a day. And then my books, The Obstacle Is the Way and Ego is the Enemy and Stillness is the Key. The idea is, okay, how do we explore these topics at maybe a sort of a greater length or do a deeper dive? But I really think the Stoics talk about, they're like, look, the way to wisdom is just get one thing a day. If you just make one little improvement every day, that adds up. And so that's kind of how I think about it. I don't think it's like, here's one book that will change your life. It's more like, what's the ongoing journey that you're on? And so I try to write in that sense.
Okay, here's the deal. I've got a friend of mine here. His name is Ryan Wimpy. You two share the first name, so I'm sure you have a lot in common. But Ryan, he runs a company called Tip Top Canine. Ryan, you're on with Ryan Holiday. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Brother, I'm excited for this interaction here. Now, here's the deal.
I'm good. This wasn't what I was expecting, so I'm curious to see where this is going to go.
Here we go. So Tip Top Canine is a company he's grown from one location to now 11. And I'm always talking about stoicism. And you're like the stoicism wizard there, Ryan. So I'm going to ask you some questions, but I'd love for Ryan to be able to ask you too.
Okay.
This book, Lives of Stoics, The Art of Living, why or how could it benefit a guy like Ryan Wimpy or myself that own businesses where something terrible and great is always happening every day?
Well, look, the founder of Stoicism, Zeno, in the 4th century BC, is traveling around the Mediterranean, and he suffers a shipwreck and he loses everything. And he washes up on shore in Athens and thus begins his journey into philosophy. So we tend to think that philosophy is this abstract thing, that it couldn't possibly be useful to someone running a business or someone writing a book or someone, doing things in the real world. But in fact, these are all things that the Stoics were actually doing. They were diplomats and husbands and daughters and leaders, and they were buying and selling houses and chasing and fulfilling dreams and making and losing money and getting stuck in traffic. They were doing all the things that we do in the modern world. It's obviously in this sort of more ancient context of it, but what philosophy was sort of an operating system for navigating a tumultuous, strange, often, insane world.
Ryan, you train dogs.
Yes.
What's the worst thing that happens on a weekly basis that could possibly happen in your world? Just terrible. Like a complaint or something? Or?
Well, we have trainers get bit. We have, real bad bites that can have people out of work for 2 or 3 months with workers' comp claims.
So, Mr. Holiday, let's say that I'm training Cujo. I'm training White Fang. I'm training this crazy dog, and it bites me down to the marrow.
We literally had that happen
boy.
like 3 months ago.
Oh, boy. Okay, so those kind of situations, what kind of advice would your book provide for people on a practical level? Most of our listeners own companies,
Sure.
What kind of stuff could our listeners find in your new book, Lives of Stoics, about that kind of thing?
Well, so look, the way Stoicism is set up, there's sort of 3 disciplines. The first discipline is perception. That's how you look and perceive what difficulty or situation you're in. The next is the action that you're going to take. And then the final part, the discipline of the will, is what are you going to endure? What are you going to survive? What sort of perseverance are you bringing to this situation? So I think to think about this, it's sort of like, okay, how can you see this as objectively as possible? Are you going to catastrophize? Are you going to complain? Are you going to get caught up in blame, right? So the perception side of things really matters. Then what action are you going to take? How are you going to use this? How are you going to move forward? What's your path to getting better? What do you need to do to get out of this? And then the third is like, look, how do you just understand that adversity is a part of life? How do you put up with things that, are unfortunate or unpleasant? And then how do you sort of emerge from the whole experience, sort of better, wiser, and stronger?
Your book, The Obstacle's the Way, right now, the audio version has 3,020 reviews. The print version has 1,625 reviews. And not all of those reviews are great. Although you have a 4.7, it looks like, or a 4.8. When you get a negative review, Ryan, does your wife bring it up to you? Does she say, hey, Mr. Best-selling author, Mr. Ryan Holiday, does she walk up to you and say, oh, you got a bad review? How do you find out about a bad review, and then how do you personally process it using your Stoic philosophy?
Well, look, as I've sold more books over the years, you start to learn you just frankly have to tune these things out. And if you're riding on every bad review, it's going to eat at you. You're not going to have any time to do the work, right? So part of it is you almost create a little bit of a bubble for yourself. Although there are moments where you are tempted and you pull it up and you look, and almost never do you emerge from that happier, wiser,
right.
Better at what you do. So a lot of it is tuning out, and I'm certainly not perfect at it.
That makes 2 of us,
right? So it's like when you have a clear idea of what you're trying to accomplish, it allows you to sort through feedback better. So a lot of the negative reviews, when I do see them, weirdly actually make me feel better because they confirm what it was I was trying to do. So, the point of The Obstacle's the Way was to make sort of Stoic thinking accessible to people who weren't interested in philosophy. And people go, oh, there's nothing new here. He's just introducing Stoic philosophy. He does it. It's like, oh, thank you. You think you're criticizing me, but you've actually just told me like that I accomplished exactly what I set out to do.
Now, Ryan Holiday, I have 3 rapid-fire questions for you before
Okay.
Ryan Wimpy tries to paint you into a corner with a tough question. So here we go. Tim Ferriss, you spend a lot of time with Tim. It appears as though you and Tim are good buddies.
Yeah,
People always
we're all
probably
friends.
want to know, what's Tim like when he's not on the podcast? What's Tim really like when he's... I mean, could you describe the Tim Ferriss experiment? I mean, you guys are good buddies. What's it like hanging out with Tim? What's he like when he's not on the podcast, not in a book, not on TV?
Well, no, I met Tim in 2007 before the 4 Hour Work Week had come out. So we've known each other a very long time. The Tim that has one of the biggest podcasts in the world is sort of a relatively recent, change of events for us. I've known him much longer as just a great writer, a great thinker, a great friend. And, he's a thoughtful, smart guy who's often, his instinct is when he finds himself in a situation or a new business or whatever, is to find out the best way to do it. And so, he's always breaking things down, trying them, he's always doing these experiments. Most of them don't work, but every once in a while he discovers something and that changes, sort of how millions of people end up doing stuff. So he's just a great guy to know.
Now, Ryan, I know we shouldn't talk about religion or politics, especially with a guest who I have not prepared for religious or political discussions. But I want to bring it up here just to see how it goes over, and then if you hang up on me, I'll know how it went. People today, we argue about religion, we argue about politics. You go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, and Ryan, you might post something up there, and then somebody right away says, "Oh yeah, well you're going to burn in hell." I mean, that seems to be like where America's at right now. It's like you post something on social media. And it's like people debate now by saying, "Oh yeah, well you're going to burn in hell." I mean, there's people out there saying they wish that President Trump dies from COVID. Some people out there excited to see him at the hospital. It's so divisive right now. How do you bring stoicism into responding to social media commentary that can be incendiary?
One of the things that Marcus Aurelius talks about, he goes, look, is a world without shameless or awful people possible? No. So he says, when you bump up into one of these people, you have to remind yourself of that. Why did you think it was likely that if a certain number of these people exist, that you would never bump into one, that you would never meet one? And I think this applies not just to random people on social media, but it also applies to presidents themselves. Like, what are the chances that you would live your entire life only having presidents that you like or that you disagree with, right? Or sorry, that you like or that you agree with? It's very unlikely. So you have to be able to accept a certain amount of these things. That doesn't mean you engage in it yourself, but it means you go, okay, this is just a part of the world. I have to accept that. That doesn't mean, again, that you behave that way yourself, but it coming to terms with the inevitability of divisive people is just a basic coping mechanism in the world.
Now, Ryan, final tough question for you: religion or politics? Here we go. Old school jam. An old school jam. A lot of times, you went to high school, you went to college. You said, how old are you now? You said you're 35. Is that right? 35?
33.
33. So you're 33 years old, which means you're probably 2003, 2004, graduated high school. What was the jam that you listened to back in the day where you were in high school, you're in your car, you're going, "Oh, that's hot." Even when you hear it now, it fires you up. What's the jam?
So I was class of 2005. I remember leaving my high school graduation, driving myself home. And I remember, and I'm bringing this up just because I was thinking about it the other day. I was listening to the band MXPX in my stereo of the Subaru that my parents let me drive. And it was funny enough because I actually had Mike Herrera on my podcast for the Daily Stoic recently. The idea of like, that I was listening to this band as I left high school for the last time. And then, flash forward 15 or so years later, I'm interviewing that person on my podcast. It was a very surreal moment.
MXPX is a rock group. Do you have a favorite hip hop group too? Do you do hip hop as well?
I'm not a big hip hop person. I mean, there's obviously songs I like, but I've always been more of a rock or metal guy.
Is there a particular MXPX song that you prefer?
So one I prefer. That's a good question. What's my favorite MXPX song? I mean, I'm Okay, You're Okay was probably the first song I ever heard from them. So that's sometimes like the first one gets rooted in there. I like GSF. I like Today Is In My Way. I like a lot of the old stuff as well.
Okay, I'm taking notes here. Today Is In My Way. Got this. Okay, now we've got the tough questions out there.
Yeah.
Ryan, you're running Tip Top K9.
Yes.
Great things are happening. What questions would you have for Ryan Holiday?
Yeah, I did. I was going to ask about the reviews, but I think that was a really good answer on the way that you would approach that. But I did have, as far as knowing that there's going to be divisive or evil people out there, when it comes to, like, I know at our Tulsa location after the last 12 years, every 3 or 4 months, I'm going to have some bad person that we way over-delivered with that's still going to want a refund because of our guarantees, right?
Sure.
And so if we say, but transferring that to the locations, to our franchises, how do and Clay's been preaching to me Stoicism for the last 3 years, but how do I get someone to know and not fly off the handle and lose literally days of productivity over a refund? Because if we have, say, a $3,000 or $4,000 boot camp refund,
how do you teach? The question for Ryan Holiday is: how do you teach other people?
Yes.
To not lose days of productivity over a nefarious customer.
Exactly.
Okay.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you.
I think you got to look at it exactly as you just did, but we have trouble doing that math, right? Because sort of $3,000. Let's say it's a $3,000 refund. $3,000 out of your bank account. That's tangible. You had $3,000. Now you don't have $3,000. The problem is we're not as good at valuing our time. We're valuing our happiness, we're valuing the opportunity cost of where our energy could be spent. And so we do a bad job sort of throwing, as they say, good money after bad. So we add on top. There's a great line from one of the early Stoics. He says, I am at least not a hindrance to myself, meaning when bad stuff happens, he deals with it, he handles it, but what he doesn't do is make bad situations worse. So one of the ways you want to express that is you go, okay, look, we made $100,000 this year, and we gave one refund. That's a breakage rate of 3%. That's pretty good when you zoom out. It's there. But if you're just looking at it as I had $3,000, now I don't, that's 100% breakage, right? So you have to zoom out, see it from perspective, and then you have to go, okay, if all we lose is 3%, and then we spend that energy going and making another $10,000, we actually have emerged from this thing better than if we spent our time fighting tooth and nail to not lose $3,000. So I find, and I'm this way with my business, sometimes you find yourself fighting really hard to undo something minorly costly rather than working much harder to make something that's actually quite lucrative.
That's powerful. I have 5 rapid fire questions for you. 5 questions, 5 minutes. Here we go. Ryan Holiday, on your Twitter page, on your Twitter feed at Ryan Holiday, there is a picture of you in front of a bunch of books. Where is that?
It's probably in my house. I think that's me in my house.
Do you have a man cave or something, or how could you possibly have this many books in one place?
Well, my job is to read and own books, so I own a lot of them.
Have you and your wife agreed that this is a separate man cave? Is this a separate part of the house? A lot of men are wondering how this is
if
possible.
I recall correctly, that photo is me in my house. And one of the things we actually did earlier this year is we made it. I ended up getting an office and I moved all my books out of the house, which she's quite happy with because it's sort of like, to me, these are my beautiful, precious books. To her, this is like Ryan's work stuff that's just taking up lots of space in the house. So I have them now all in my office, but. That to me, every one of those books is a brick in in building the career that I've built. I wouldn't be here without them. So I have quite a few, and I display them quite prominently.
You have a tattoo on your left arm. What does that tattoo mean? What does it say?
On my left arm, I have the obstacle is the way, and on my right arm, I have ego is the enemy.
Okay, question number 3. You're kind of a big deal. People know you. People go, oh my gosh, when's that Ryan Holiday show going to be? Oh, Clay, tell me when it's coming out. When did it occur to you that you were gaining traction with your career? When did it occur to you, man, I'm actually going to make this a career that works? When did that moment happen for you?
Writing is a weird career because even if you are a big deal, most people don't read. The vast majority of people who do read never flip to the back and actually see who the author was, right? So it's a wonderful career in that even with the impact you can have, you can sort of live a relatively normal life inside all that. Look, the first time you get recognized is a bit weird. The first time you get profiled somewhere big, it sort of makes it. I think the big one for me was, I guess it'd be October of 2011. I flew to New York City to do meetings for what was going to be my first book. And it's like, I started those meetings as a person who wanted to be a writer. And I left that meeting, those meetings with a book deal, the first time I'd ever really been paid to write. And so that was definitely a watershed sort of like things are different now moment.
Now, you have done a lot of podcasts, and I'm sure you've been asked a question similar to this often, but you have the mic, and you can say anything you want to our listeners. Is there a principle? Is there an idea? Is there a website? What would you say to all the listeners out there that you just really want to communicate?
Yeah, the question you get the most is, what question haven't I asked that you should ask?
Oh.
Because if I'm sitting around with questions that I want to be asked, it's. I think. Look, I would urge people. I think philosophy is really important. I think it's more important now than ever, as the world is chaotic and as if some of sort of old system or old structures break down. If you're not making time to learn and explore and benefit from the wisdom of the ancient world, what are you doing? It's a great line from Seneca. He says, "Only those who make time for philosophy are truly alive." And he says they annex into their own age all of the wisdom of the past. And that's what I try to do with the Daily Stoic email. That's what I try to do with my writing. But it's also just how I try to live my life. I try to make time for philosophy.
Each chapter of your new book is really a mini biography of an important Stoic over 500 plus years of history. I mean, it's incredible. 26 profiles and all. I think everybody out there should check out the book. Obviously, you want them to check out the book. We want them to check out the book. But for anybody out there who's thinking about, should I buy a regrettable burrito with extra guac? I don't really want it, but should I buy that? Should I get that extra something at the gas station that I don't really need, but I kind of want? Or should I buy this book? I mean, Ryan, you're talking about people sacrificing. If they buy your book, they can't buy a regrettable burrito with extra guac. They're going to have to fast for at least a third of a day. Why should everybody check out your book?
That's something that's been very humbling for me to realize as an author. You're not competing with other authors. You're competing with all the other things people could be doing with their time and money. And so I realized that it takes a lot of trust and it's a big risk for someone to say, hey, I'm going to spend days of my life reading this thing. So one of the things I've done, obviously I write all the time, which I give away a lot for free, but we've done some sort of video profiles of a bunch of the Stoics on the Daily Stoic YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Daily Stoic. Just go watch the video of Seneca or Admiral Stockdale or Epictetus and tell me that, Epictetus is a slave. Stockdale was a fighter pilot who was a prisoner of war. Seneca was Rome's greatest writer and its most powerful political advisor. Go watch something about the lives of these men and women and tell me that, there's nothing you can't learn from someone who has suffered and experienced as much as they have. And if you find there is something you could learn, then check out the book. But the videos are a nice sort of free, easy place to start that take, just a couple minutes of your time.
Ryan, I want to respect your time, so I'm going to have to hang up on myself here in just a minute. But
okay.
Before I do, I thought I would tell you thank you. I really do appreciate you being on the show. I know you get opportunities to be on so many shows. And I just, on behalf of all the listeners, brother, thank you for being on the show.
No, this is great, man. This is really fun. I appreciate it. And I hope everyone's being well and safe. And we'll do this again sometime.
All right. You take care. Have a great day.
Bye.
And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom! Stop what you're doing and think about this for a second. What would happen if your company was suddenly able to generate exponentially more quality sales leads? That would be incredible. What would happen if your company came up at the top or near the top of the Google search engine results? Well, I would just feel overwhelmed with all that business. How many thousands of dollars in lost sales or millions of dollars in lost sales are you missing out on simply because your potential customers can't find you when they go online to search for the products and services that you offer? I refuse to think that thought because I don't want any more business. Unless you are a dirty communist that hates money, my new book, Search Engine Domination, will help you grow your business. In my new book, Search Engine Domination, we will teach you the specific steps that you need to take to dominate the search engine results. What do you mean by dominate? You see, in my new book, Search Engine Domination, we will teach you the specific steps that you need to take to dominate search engine results. Download your free ebook copy today at the thebestseobook.com. I repeat, that's thebestseobook.com.
My name is Amy Baltimore, and I am a CPA in Covington, Tennessee. I've been working with the Thrive team now for about a year. One of the first things that they did was to update my website and my search engine optimization. I prior had a website, but I was not being found on Google, and all of my new business was coming through referrals from friends, family, etc. And right away, I started to see results. People were calling and coming in saying that they found me on Google. They just Googled CPA near me, and there I was at the top of the page. And so it's been a great help to my business.
Again, you can download your free ebook copy today at thebestseobook.com.
Hey, this is Dustin Huff. I'm with Keystone Harbor Marina. We joined Thrive back in January and have been working with these guys for about 7 months. During that time period, we have moved up our Google rank through reviews and SEO processes that we've compiled through these guys. Our leads have gone from about 4 a week to now 165 a week. So the process works. I will tell you from experience, once you begin, you have to stay with it. As long as you continually do this week in and week out, month in and month out, you'll continually grow.
The system works, but nothing works unless you do. You've got to take some action. Download the ebook for free today at thebestseobook.com.
Hello, my name is Daniel with Daniel's Heating and Air here in Amarillo, Texas. The way Google has affected my business, we have got a lot of calls from Google. Right now it's July and we've had the best month ever. And it took us about 8 to 10 months to get on top of Google, and I'm glad we did.
Remember, nothing works unless you do. You have to go to thebestseobook.com today. Download the ebook for free. Just download that ebook for free, and you'll be off to the races.
Hi, my name is Christina Nemus. I'm the owner and operator of Angel's Touch Auto Body and Detailing in Bourne, Massachusetts. We have been working with Thrive and their coaching for, say, 8 to 9 months, and it took us about 6 months, 5 to 6 months to get on the top of Google, and with their help with the website and marketing, and the SEO and retargeting ads with Google, and it has been phenomenal. We just have light and day business coming in, phone calls coming in, walk-ins, referrals. It's just through the roof, and we couldn't be happier. At the moment, we are up 50% this year from the previous year, and not only is that part of our own hard work and diligence, but also with the help of Thrive and what they've done for us and getting us on the top of Google and, you know, all their knowledge and coaching. And yeah, so super grateful, super pumped to see what the future holds for all of us. Thank you.
This is your year to thrive. Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time.
Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. Proverbs 10:4. I'm here to tell you, you can do it if you can just motivate yourself. 12 the masses had to cut off a few, so on the daily you and I could rendezvous. A misshapen tree that I had to prune. I had to make cuts to be here daily at noon. So like a tidal wave of knowledge monsoon, I could rain on the parades of those who doubt in you. Are you the next Rockefeller or the next guru, or the next Dr. King who's changing the rules? Walls are in your way, will you run right through? Like a running back, fourth the one, it's up to you. I remember my days back in the dorm room, tuned to the gloom like the temple of doom. Overwhelmed with the doubts that try to consume my hope for the future that I could pursue. But from the mountaintop now I can conclude that you have what it takes if you want the view to.
This is your year to thrive. Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time. It's your year to thrive. Success you will find. Today is your day, and now is your time.
This moment is profound cause you're above the ground. Your road might have been rough, but what you got now is now. We're here to pick you up and to even show you how, but you gotta be resourceful with that old plow. Started from the bottom, but I worked my way up, cause by 4 a.m. I've always been prayed up. Rise and grind, now's your time down, don't dare let up. You gotta get it, don't quit it till your seeds grow
This
up.
is your year to thrive.
Come on, come on.
Success you will find.
Yes.
Today is your day.
Somebody say,
And now is your time.
it's your time.
It's your year to thrive.
Come on, come on.
Success you will find. Today is your day. And now is your time.
It's your time.
Yeah,
We all have a wish and we all want to win, but we cannot begin without self-discipline. If you fall on your face, get yourself up again. Attach yourself to goals, not fail with the friends. When the storms get rough and it's scattered and leave, you only be there with yourself and what you believe. We believe in you, but not as much as God does. If you're going through hell, he's got nothing but love. Apply what you learn, increase what you earn, and in due time
You
you
got
have money to burn.
Apply what you've learned, increase what you've earned, and in due time you got money to burn.
Sing it.
Apply what you've learned, increase what you've earned, in due time you got money to burn.
Sing it.
Apply what you've learned,
Sing it.
increase what you've earned.
Yes.
In due time you got money to
With this
burn.
miracle, I look to shout down the doubters, kill the weeds that be killing your dream flowers, empower you to devour all the obstacles that make your sweet dreams sour. As for me, I used to stutter, but now I'm on the microphone smooth like butter. If I can do it, I know you can too, but you must stick to it like postage do. And while Merton's on the chorus, singing what he sings, I encourage you to dream big dreams.
Today is your day.
Today's your day.
And now is your time.
It's your time.
This is your year to thrive.
Sing it, sing it.
Success you will find. Today is your day.
It's your day.
And now is your time.
It's your time.
Today is your day.
Come
And now is your time.
Sing it, Martin.
Today is your day. Now is your time.
I realize I can't sing like that, but I can talk and play the woodblock.
4,000% from February to February. Now I can better that. Okay, Clay, I don't think you know this. I don't think you know this. I'm pinching myself, and if I cry, forgive me. In the last 2.5 days, we have bettered our entire month of February in the last 2.5 days. So, and the phone's blowing up. Everything's just blowing up. You're right. It is like a rocket ship. So we're pinching ourselves, actually.
I learned at the academy in Kings Point in New York. Acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say.
Devin, we oftentimes at thrivetimeshow.com, we interact with some really great people. In fact, if anybody goes to thrivetimeshow.com and they schedule that first free 13-point assessment with me, you're sort of like the filter. I mean, you talk to, people every day.
Yep.
And certain people are not a good fit. We call these people happy hopers. And certain people are a good fit. We call these people diligent doers. What's the difference? A diligent doer has an actual product or service that makes sense. They have a prototype or an actual product or service. They have an actual viable plan where they can sell a real product or service to real people. And a happy hoper is somebody that doesn't have a real product or service. And a while back, these wonderful people, they reached out to us and we scheduled a 13-point assessment. And I knew that they would be successful for two reasons. One, they are diligent doers. And the second is they had an actual product that they could sell to real people on the real planet Earth. And they gave a sample to my wife. They gave a sample of their product to my wife. And my wife, Devin, who doesn't coach clients, doesn't mentor clients, she stays out of that. She works on the accounting side. She tells me this stuff is incredible. This is incredible stuff. And so at that point, I recognized, we're going to have a business that's going to blow up. And so I wanted to get them on the show while the business is actually taking off. Like they're actually currently joining us from a figurative rocket ship. Their business is taking off next level. I'm excited to have them on. This is the founders of Givaderm. Ladies, welcome on to the Thrivetime Show. How are you?
It's such an honor. Thank you so much for having us on. We're having so much fun right now. It's unbelievable.
We're pinching ourselves.
So first off, for people out there that don't know who you two are, I'm going to let you two introduce yourselves and introduce your product so people can Google you and verify you're not a hologram.
Absolutely. So we are a toxin-free skincare company, and we're really trying to bring the words luxury and zero toxicity together. And it's just been a wild ride. Honestly, my mom had a crazy health scare.
Hi, I'm Deborah.
And sorry, I'm Julianne. I'm the co-founder. And I'm her daughter. And so it's just, you know what? It's just been a wild ride. And honestly, we were pretty, we knew we had something. We knew we had something that was incredible. But then honestly, we were pretty stagnant. We didn't really know what direction to go. And then all of a sudden, on one of our super late nights, my mom looked at me and she goes, we've heard a lot about Clay, and I think, yep, I think we're supposed to call, like, maybe get that assessment. And I was like, ah, within like 5 seconds, I launched that form over to you guys.
It's a holy moment, actually, because I'm a major introvert, and she's like, I never thought for a minute you'd do that, but I honestly felt like the Lord said, do this. So we did, and I think we shared yesterday, not yesterday, at the conference last weekend, that this February, from last February, we were up 4,000% in our business.
Can you repeat that? How much have you grown as a person?
4,000% from February to February. Now I can better that. Okay, Clay, I don't think you know this. I'm pinching myself, and if I cry, forgive me. In the last 2.5 days, we have bettered our entire month of February in the last 2.5 days. So, and the phone's blowing up. Everything's just blowing up. You're right. It is like a rocket ship. So we're pinching ourselves, actually.
I mean this sincerely, and I wanted to get Devin on the show because she talks to so many wonderful people.
We love Devin.
Go to thrivetimeshow.com, and the challenge we have is that we're sort of like an incubator, and I can only work with 160 clients, so it's like a football team and you only have 52 roster spots. We only have 160. And the reason why is, Devin, with your clients, you meet with your clients once a week.
Yep.
But a client, you might talk to them 3 times during the week.
Right.
Because we're doing the photography, the videography, the web, the search engine, coaching them, guiding them, mentoring them. And I really wanted to drill down into the successes that your business has experienced as a result of you two diligent doers putting in the work there. So first is you guys are doing the Dream 100. Now, the Dream 100 is a system that I don't know why. And Deborah, I'm going to ask you the question. So I don't know why, and I'm not attacking you. This is not a passive aggressive attack. I don't know why people are reluctant to do it. I don't know. So, in my life, anytime I want to get, for example, Tim Tebow to speak at our upcoming business conference, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call. And then if I get rejected, which I often do, I will then email. And if I get rejected via email, I will then text. And if I get rejected, and Devin, you have worked here for about a year-ish.
Almost 2
years. And on the agenda, did I not put on the agenda, book Tim Tebow for June conference? Did I not put it on there for it seemed like maybe 6 consecutive months?
Yes, you did have it on there.
And I've been chasing that reality, turning that into to have Tim Tebow speak at our events for 10 consecutive years. So from the age of 33 to the age of 43, I've had the same action item on my to-do list. And the reason why is because my literary agent, Esther Federkevich, she represents Tim Tebow and myself. And a lot of people in our orbits kept saying, Tim should speak at your conferences. And so, you have to reach out to people you don't know, because this just in, people don't wake up with a burning desire to pay you. And the product, as good as it is, it's not going to sell itself. So even though my wife is saying, Givaderm is hot sauce, it is the best skincare product I've ever seen, everybody should buy this, that doesn't mean people are going to buy it unless they know about you. So I want to ask you that specifically, Deborah, the Dream 100, making a list of 100 people that you do not know and reaching out to them to offer them free samples. What was the challenging part about doing that?
We had to identify our audience first, because your Dream 100 can go everywhere, but you have to specifically identify your audience. And then it is work, because you're kind of intimidated and you're like, is this real? Is this really going to work? And so you just have to press into that and keep pressing into that. And you just do what you're told to do. I know that sounds basic, but that's why we have hired you to tell us what to do. And so we just had to keep at it.
Now, Devin, you work with very reasonable clients. None of our clients are unreasonable. Of course not. What is the hard part that people have when you tell them to do the Dream 100? Because these two are doing it. This is something that Juliana and Deborah, they're doing it. What is the issue? As I'm trying to help somebody out there that's stuck.
Dealing with rejection.
There it is. Now,
100%.
I used to stutter as a kid. I used to stutter as a kid. So let me just walk you through how that works. If you can't speak well and you get mocked at a young age, at a certain point, you just quit caring what people think. So, that's at a certain point, you just quit caring what people think. So, do you see this, Devin, in our office? We have a lot of employees.
Mm-hmm.
There's gossip, there's rumors, there's jackassery, whatever. Yesterday I was dealing with a situation, so I just call the person involved, ask them directly, call both people, wrap it up. I don't know if that upsets people. I don't know, but I don't think about it. I just want to solve the problem, and I think we've solved the problem. It could be you, but if you're avoiding conflict or rejection, you're just not going to have success. So, pro tip number one is you could stutter a lot and then get to a point where you no longer care. That's option number one. Option number two is you just become numb. You just get to a point where you say Matthew 5:10-11, blessed are ye who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for ye shall inherit the kingdom of heaven. So you just say, I don't worry about what people think. Or you just run around like you're dumb. I don't know if you go dumb or numb. Juliana, I want to ask you, what's your approach? Do you try to go dumb? Do you try to go numb? Do you try to pray your way through it? How do you push?
All of the above.
All of it.
And I say all of the above. It just depends upon how it hits me. Dumb, numb, and pray through it. It all of those are true. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just so we're clear about what I mean by this is some strategic stuff here. Being dumb, it is a move that I use often. So,
100%.
yesterday I was, and I'll be very vague. Yesterday I was looking at buying a potential property for a thing I'm working on. And, I just began breaking all the boundaries. I don't mind knocking on a door and talking to somebody. I don't mind calling a property that's not for sale and asking, will you sell it? I don't mind talking to the neighbor and saying, what do you know about this property? I don't mind. And I just sort of go in like I'm dumb, like, hey, everybody, is this property for sale? I mean, that's just sort of the mindset. And certain people go, I can't believe you just did that, but okay, that works. Or you can get numb, but you got to do it. Okay, so you made the Dream 100 of these influencers, people that have access to the your ideal and likely buyers. You've given them samples. Yes. That's working. Second is you have to optimize the pricing. Now, the pricing is a thing, Devin, and I'm sure you've never dealt with this. Your clients haven't either. I'm sure the Give It Nerve folks haven't either. But I find a lot of people are afraid to charge what something's worth.
Yeah.
So let me start with an example of that doesn't relate to anybody I've ever met before. And this would be the entrepreneur that has a great product, but is afraid to charge what they should charge because they don't want to offend, they don't want to overcharge, they don't want to take advantage of. And so they actually create an unprofitable business. So the more they sell, the more they create a daily hell. What am I saying? The more they sell, the more they create this perpetual hell because they actually are selling something at a loss or they're barely breaking even. Just the other day, I was talking to a home remodeler who was telling me that the busier he gets, the more money he loses. He was at our conference. And I go, how does that work? And he's like, well, I don't want to gouge people. And I said, so what? And so this guy, he's not a client, but he came to our conference and he was telling me that his business, he listens to our show and he's been implementing the things he can without being a client. And he said, but the problem is the more business I get, the more I lose money. And I go, how is that possible? And he's actually charging people what it costs him to provide the service, or he's doing it at a loss. And I couldn't understand it. I want to ask you two now, going back to Deborah here on the pricing thing. Has that been something that we've worked through together, or maybe what's your, how have we kind of coached you or worked with you on the pricing?
Yeah, well, Andrew, our coach, has worked with us because I am one of those people that as a consumer, I watch the budget. And so at the same time, our products have incredible ingredients and they are all natural. So we have to cover our expenses. And so you guys have worked with us to watch our margins, to be able to know what our margins are and know what we have to price, or we're not going to be able to make this company available. We won't make it. And so you guys have been incredible, an incredible asset helping us do that.
I want to ask your thoughts here, Juliana. Talk to me about that, the pricing thing. What have we helped you through the pricing, or what would be your comments on that?
100%. Actually, it is interesting because when you set your prices where they need to be, that it actually attracts the customers that you want. And although it's been hard to consider pricing and hard to consider what we need to make, like as far as just covering the costs, and then what we need to make on top of that to just continue to be sustainable, it is incredible because it's been I feel like I said, it's attracting your ideal and likely buyer. So it's beautiful.
How has coaching, we'll get into more details, but how has coaching, Juliana, how has that impacted your business? If you had to describe it to somebody, you're sitting next to someone at a conference and they're like, okay, so you've worked with, Clay Clark's coaching system, or with, you've worked with Devin, or you've worked with Andrew, because you've probably interacted with our whole team at this point. I mean, you've probably talked to Devin on the phone. You've probably been to a conference. You've probably interacted with Andrew every week on the phone. You've probably interacted with our whole team at this point. And someone says to you, how has it impacted your life? What would you say?
I would say it's the equivalent. I've never seen the show, but I've heard of the show Naked and Afraid, where you're dumped in the middle of God only knows where. And it's like, you know what? I have this great idea. I want to be dumped in the middle of God only knows where, and I have a product that will help people, but I don't know how to actually make a way. And it's literally like hiring a guide that is experienced, that knows what they're doing, and that can really just absolutely, even when there have been times that I'm like, I don't even know where we are. I feel like I'm totally blind, even in the initial coaching process. And it was like, okay, but great news. We've got our coach call tomorrow. It's going to be great. And so it's just this incredible feeling of knowing that somebody has our back, and knowing that they know what to do. And then also knowing that, and honestly, I would be a little bit disappointed if I hired a business coach that wasn't a multimillionaire. And so, I'm just super grateful that you're successful. And so we wanted to go, what, he must know if he must know a few things, or a few thing or two.
That's right. Yeah.
That's funny. What's interesting about what we do is, last night, I'll be very vague because I don't know when the show's coming out. I don't want to date the show that way, but last night my wife and I were talking about some things, and she said to me, she goes, I'm so glad that I'm aware of how to achieve success, because when our daughter asks, it's great to be able to tell her the answers. She was just kind of reflecting, because our daughter's 20 years old, and she's asking questions about buying her first property, and my wife is like, well, you want to buy low, obviously. Yeah, buy low, but you want to think about that. And my wife started talking to her about generating revenue streams. Like, you want to have a property where you could maybe rent out an extra room to someone you can trust, or maybe you could rent it out in the future, or maybe you buy it low, you add value to it. And my wife was really getting into like a home flipping seminar.
Wow.
But it was a thing where we've just done it so much that we forgot that is a question that a 19-year-old has, or a 20-year-old has, that people have never bought a house before. And my wife was putting on this like home flipping seminar of what makes a home more valuable, the moves you can do that are inexpensive but add a lot of life to the property. And again, if you've never flipped a house before, it can be overwhelming. But in our case, we've done it so much. The other day, someone was asking us, I think my wife and I have lived in 15 separate houses. It could be 16, because we just were buying, renovating, moving, and we just doing it. And so it's kind of become normal. Growing a business is kind of normal. So if you're out there watching today and you feel overwhelmed, you feel stuck, these are two great examples of people that are real people we've actually worked with. We are working with. They are currently in the figurative rocket ship. The figurative rocket ship. They're blasting off. Sales are happening nonstop. I appreciate them taking some time to talk to us about this. The next is we got to track. We have to track. And people always tell me, I'm so busy, I don't have time to track. Now, Devin, your clients have never told you that.
No.
But can you walk me through why other people who don't listen to our show and are not your clients, why people might not track?
They're scared to look at the numbers.
There's a thing there. The other thing I would say is people like to always delegate to their spouse, to their partner. So the alpha, if it's a female-owned business and the woman is the founder, she will usually delegate the finances to the person that joined. Like, so the founder usually likes to delegate the finances to somebody else. That's usually what happens. Or if it's a male, he'll delegate it to, his wife. Or if it's the wife who started it, she'll delegate it to her husband. Or if it's a sister, she'll delegate it to her brother. It seems like in the family-owned business, the founder always delegates the tracking to somebody else. I just see that as a pattern. And it seems like if they're not related, it just seems like they'll delegate it to whoever they just hired. So imagine you go to work for someone, you're 25 years old, you just got hired by a 40-year-old, and they go, hey, by the way, you're in charge of tracking. And I see that. And then the person who's in charge of tracking, they might not be diligent. They might be disorganized. They might be organized. I don't know. But what happens is then they sort of now have removed themselves from direct responsibility. I wanted to ask you, Deborah, on the tracking, how do you two track? Because it is really depressing when you're tracking 100% of zero sales this week. I mean, that could be depressing. And it could seem like a waste of time, but now as you're actually selling, it becomes increasingly important. So start with you there, Deborah. The tracking thing, how do you guys handle that?
Well, we have our tracking sheet that Andrew helped us put together. And you're right, it's absolutely mandatory. And because we have a product that has to be manufactured, you have to know how much every item costs, down to the packing tape, the fragile stickers, and all this kind of stuff. So it's imperative that you know what's happening. And that's what, and like I said, Andrew's helped. We do that together. We kind of stay in it. I tend to lean into the manufacturing part of it, where I needed to know exactly how much that shipper cost, exactly how much, that void fill cost, exactly how much the decoration on our bottles, all that you have to know it. Otherwise you'll wake up one day and you're consumed, you're done. So
Juliana,
you just have to know it.
You have any thoughts on that? Because again, you two are working as a business owner. You're doing the marketing, the sales, the hiring, the firing. They're shipping things. How would you describe your tracking process?
You know what, we had an approximate idea before we started working with you, but then getting the specifics has been incredible. And it's not hard. It's just anything that goes out, you track, and then anything that comes in, you track. But it does take effort. You have to put a little bit of effort into it. And so I would just say it's invaluable. It's one of those things that if you don't understand potentially where there's a leak in the boat, then you just have to, because you have to do these. It's basically constant
to-dos as well.
Yeah, constant weekly inspections of the boat, if you will. And so it's really good.
It is. And again, this is so big. Constant inspections. I think that a lot of people struggle with boredom. But the great clients I've had, they bore down. So you have to do the same thing every day. Devin, have you ever worked at a restaurant?
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Oh man. You probably never will then. But have you two ever worked at a restaurant? Julianne, have you ever worked at a restaurant?
No.
Deborah, have you? Well, let me walk you through. Let me just walk you through my experience at Applebee's. I'll walk you through Applebee's. I worked at Applebee's. And our job is every single day when I worked there, 20 something years ago, you have to have out the fresh salad. So you open up that walk-in freezer, and a guy from Cisco or whoever delivers the salad, he's going to deliver the fresh salad, and you have to throw away the bad salad every single day. You bring in the fresh meat, you throw out the bad meat every single day. Then you prepare your they call it the house salad prep. So you basically make the house salads and you put them in this room. And so when somebody orders it, they're ready to go, and you have to, there's like a process. Every day you clean the bathrooms. Every single day you wipe off all the tables. Every single day you dust every single window. Every single day you wipe off the glass. And it's a checklist every day. And I found that the top waiters, of which I was not one, I had a good attitude, but I wasn't nearly as skilled as other people who had been doing it a long time. They would come in to work right away, and they would wipe down the windows, mop the floor, get everything ready to go. And they were ready to go before the first customer walked in. But I found that the bad ones would always say things like, all we ever do is do the same thing every day. And then my boss, Ian, would go, yeah, because it's a restaurant. And all we ever do is serve food to great people. That's what we do. So, but I think certain people get bored with that monotonous stuff, and you guys do a really good job of nailing that. The next is the website creation. And the website, it's not a one and done. It is a process of continual improvement. There's endless iterations. We're always updating. I'm never happy with the website. I'm happy today. But if I look at it too long, I go, I kind of want to tweak that. We always want to make a small little enhancement. We always want to add a new testimonial. We always want to add a new endorsement. As I look at it right now, just my pro tip, and I'll tell Andrew, but maybe you can tell him that I told you this before you talked to Andrew. Any of the bigger names that are starting to endorse you, we get the as seen on, like endorsed by. So when you click on testimonials, it's like endorsed by, and you start to get more and more big names. So I look at one of my clients called Moms on a Mission. What a great job she does. And as she's booking bigger and bigger guests, we keep adding the as seen on. Now, you don't want it to get in the way of the product, but you got to make sure we get, because you're starting to have some big time names that endorse your product. Could you share with the listeners, what's it been like having a consultant that also does the web development? Because we do the photography, the video, the web, the search engine, all of that is all one-stop shop. What's that been like there, Deborah, having just a one-stop shop for everything?
There are really no words, because whenever you're trying to start a business, you're so overwhelmed. You're watching everything. You know this is new territory for you, so you're having to learn everything the best you can. So to have someone come in that is an expert in this field and can say, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, and this is what you need to do, it's like done. I mean, also the pricing, as I've heard, but thank God we didn't go there, but to have someone develop your website is astoundingly outrageous. So to be able to have that incorporated in the coaching has been such a blessing. It's just been, they're really few words. Without a website, we're sunk. So
Devin, I want to tell you a story that's going to depress you. Okay.
Okay.
How old are you right now? How old are you?
23.
Okay. So when you were not born yet, you were not yet born. Seriously, when you were not born yet. I started this. Your mom and dad are probably on a date.
Yeah.
You know, I started this company called DJ Connection, right? And I thought, well, I'm going to do is I'm going to work at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. That's a true story. So 1998, 1997, I'm growing this business. 1999, I'm growing it. And I got this website. I needed a website. Needed to have a website. So I went to a web guy. I won't mention the guy's name, although I want to. Well, I know I will mention it. I will mention the website because it's not a bad thing. It's just a fact. So I hired a company called Creative State to build my website for me. It's called Creative State. And Brent Lawless was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is his company, Creative State Web Development. There it is. Boom. And I paid him to build my website for me. And, it was at that time, I look back at it and I go, wow. But we're talking about thousands of dollars was spent to build said website, and thousands and thousands. And so I was paying unbelievable amounts of money. We're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to build the website. And then every time I wanted to make a change, there were certain costs to it. Now, he's gone on to build, website products and promotion for Taylor Swift. He's done stuff for Garth Brooks, and he's really a kind of a household name boutique in the web space. He's done a great job. But my thought was, if I'm going to build a website, I want to have the guy who built Garth Brooks's website. Because at that time, Garth Brooks was like the #1 music star in the world. I'm going to hire that guy. And I'm glad I did. But if I were to tell you that it was $1,700 a month, because we charge our clients $1,700 a month, it's a flat rate, $1,700 per month. And that includes the coaching, the mentorship, the conferences, everything, all the introductions, all the PR, all the marketing, the video, the photography, the web, the accounting. But this guy, he didn't apologize for the price. You can imagine, because the guy's built the website for Taylor Swift and Garth Brooks. You can imagine. So it's more like, well, $15,000, we'll get a conversation started. And I'm going, and I just remember him saying to me, I remember people telling me, well, you need to get a video on your website. I thought, I do need to get a video on my website. So all I'll do is I'll get a video on my website. And I go, so do you guys do the video? He goes, no, we don't do video. But I have a guy I recommend. And the video guy says, true story, for $8,000, I could make you the promotional video. $8,000. What? $8,000. Okay, and then the website's 15. I'm up to 23. I work at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. I'm making like $8.25 an hour plus tips sometimes at Applebee's. You don't get tips at Target. So I'm working, and then I go, okay, and then I need to hire a PR person to help me do my PR, to get in front of the media, to get, and the PR people are like, well, it's a retainer, and it'll be, $5,000 a month for 1 year. So I'm out $60,000 for that. I got the website. So then I start thinking, I need to sell something. Because I'm going to need to sell something soon. So my Yellow Page ad was $2,500 a month for my Yellow Page ad on top of the other things. So I remember it was the craziest thing ever, because I'm working at Applebee's. Could you imagine, Devin, right now at your age, and could you imagine you talk to your mom and dad, and your mom and dad says, how are you? And you say, I'm doing great. They said, what have you been up to? You said, I agreed to pay $2,500 a month for the next year on an ad that hasn't been proven to work. And by the way, I'm paying a PR company $4,000 a month. And by the way, BruceClay.com, that's the search engine company that is probably the highest rated, he writes the Search Engine for Dummies book. And you're going to pay about $8,000 a month for a 12-month contract. So you're, $96,000 to teach to have him. Could you imagine explaining that to your mom or your dad? How would that go over?
They'd think I'm stupid or something.
If you guys were building Give a Durham today, and imagine you hopped on your coaching call with Andrew, and Andrew says, what you need to do is you need to go out there and pay $2,500 a month for your advertising, pay $4,000 a month for PR, 18,000, 50, actually 15,000 for the website. But every time you make a change, it's like $1,000. And then you also, I mean, what would happen there, Juliana, if that was the recommendations he was going to give you?
Fight. What is it? Fight, fly, or freeze, or whatever. I don't know. Like I think I would just be like, bye. Like, good luck with everything. I can't do it. Like, it's just not sustainable.
This is what I did. I took a photo with the Yellow Page guy. I said, if I'm going to pay you $2,500 a month, I need a photo. So there he is, Jeremy McCaslin. Did a photo with my Yellow Page guy. And that's the kind of stuff I would do just to kind of capture it. But I always thought to myself, at some point, I'm going to build when people started asking me to help them grow their company, I thought, you know what, I'm going to make it, I'm going to provide the entire coaching system for less money than it would cost to hire an hourly employee. And so now, final thing I want to ask you guys is we help you with the systems, creating the systems, the optimization, turnkey, the entire workflow, marketing, sales, branding, PR, accounting, all of it coming together as one unified song, all the different instruments put together. They make a beautiful orchestra. It all comes together. I want to ask you this, Deborah, what's that worth to you? I know you pay $1,700 a month. I know that I make a 20% profit on every client. So we make, just to be very clear, $340 a month per client. What's that been worth to you?
Wait, sincerely, everything. I don't want to use cliche words, but I can't find words that could adequately describe how you have literally changed our lives. It made it affordable. It made it affordable. Yes, 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 yes. I'm not saying that, I was $1,700 a month. But then when you saw everything that is included, it's like, oh my gosh, it's only $1,700 a month. But it has changed our life. Our company, I can say hand on heart, our company would not be where it is without you guys. Hand on heart. There's absolutely no way. You've brought us the experience, the connections, the consistency, the kick in the pants when we needed it. Oh, we didn't need it hardly at all, Andrew. And so we're just there's sincerely, it's very hard to express how amazed we are. And we do feel like God was on this from the beginning. And we thank him for introducing us to you guys. And then you guys have just, we've literally hitched our wagon to your horses. And that's what it's been like. That's what we talk about that a lot. And we're pinching ourselves. I mean, how often can someone say in 2.5 days, we bettered a month's worth of sales, which was 4,000% higher than the year before. I mean, and the phone's blowing up. I mean,
now obviously Deborah is paying us, Devin, to say that. So we'll go to a more reasonable person. Juliana, how would you describe it? Because there's somebody out there right now who believes that they don't qualify for success. That's what I hear all the time. And I grew up poor, and I'll never forget what it was like to be poor. And so I never want anybody to think they don't qualify. We have scholarship options to make it work for people. But what would you say to somebody who's on the outside of the website right now, listening to this show, and they're like, I don't know if it'll work for me? What would you say?
Don't be afraid. And don't be afraid to admit where you are now. Because honestly, it was really, when we did our assessment with you, Clay, we were like, well, we're doing this much a month, and that's embarrassing, and we're doing this much, and
we didn't think we would qualify. I mean, we didn't.
And I think to really understand your heart for people and your heart for excellence for people. And like Mom said, I think I've told you this before, but it was absolutely uncanny to the point that at one point we had just like a connection, an additional connection with you. And that morning, and then that afternoon, one of our biggest influencers mentioned us in her broadcast.
Yeah.
And so literally you carry so much momentum. So I would say to anybody out there that's considering doing this, to give it a shot, to just go for it.
Hesitate.
And honestly, just look at your budget and take out the things that are unnecessary so that you can afford to do this business coaching, because what you're getting is absolutely outrageous. And for whatever it's worth, I was even able to text Andrew multiple times. We're like panicked going, the website's down, or the website's blah, blah, blah. And he's like, we're on it. We're good. We got it done, handled it. And it was just like, oh my gosh, just to feel like we could trust fall with you guys when it is not none of this is my skill set. None of it. It's all uncomfortable. And to know that you have a well-oiled machine that we can go, oh, can we just come into that and just go, yes, I'll take your systems. It's incredible. It's been absolutely outrageous. And we look back and we laugh, but right now we are in a rocket ship, and we're just going, oh gosh, we're gonna have to. It's such a beautiful way. It's like, I think we're gonna have to hire more people, and I think we're gonna actually have to work, like literally have crews work around the clock for fulfillment, and then we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that, and then we may have to go there. We may have to get more, more storage units. We may have to do whatever, and it's just we're to that fun part, but it's also managing growth.
Well,
but what I love is that we can still even ask you, hey, where we are right now, is it wise to do this, or should we stay here? And it's incredible. It's been wonderful.
My favorite part, and then I'll let you guys go. I love it when it's overwhelming. You're out of office space and everybody's selling something. That to me is the most exciting part where people begin to share a desk, they share a chair. It gets socially awkward because your desk, you recognize that a box of product has become your desk. You recognize that you're taking notes on boxes, and that's exciting stuff. That's where you can't find your wallet because everything's being shipped in and out. That's an exciting place to be. So I encourage everybody, check out the Give a Derm product today for anybody out there, and don't not do it because I'm endorsing it. Check it out, giveaderm.com. Go there, giveaderm.com. Check it out there. And then the final question is, how do we accurately pronounce your last name? Because you spell your last name, it's Grimnes. So someone's going, Grimes.
That's it. You got it the first time.
If you add an S, you will pronounce it correctly.
Yeah. So think of it. My dad would say, think of it as like, don't say this, Dad. He's like, think of it as like the grimness of the situation. I'm like, Dad, that's not good.
No,
don't say that.
No,
don't. It's good. No. Like, anyway.
Thank you, Team Grimness. Have a great day. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank
We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
It's been an honor. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Ryan Wimpy.
And I'm Rachel Wimpy, and the name of our business is Tip Top Canine.
Our business is a dog training business. We help people with behavioral issues and teach their dog how to listen. When I was learning to become a dog trainer, we didn't learn anything about internet marketing or advertising or anything at all. Just dog training. And that's what's so great about working with Clay and his team, because they do it all for us.
So that we can focus on our passion, and that's training dogs. Clay and his team here, they're so enthusiastic. Their energy is off the charts. Never a dull moment here at Thrive.
We've been working with Clay and his team for the last 5 months, 2 of which have been our biggest months ever. 1, our biggest gross by 35%. Clay's helped us make anything from brochures to stickers, new business cards, new logos, scripts for phones, script for email, script for text message, scripting for everything.
How I would describe the weekly meetings with Clay and his team are awesome. They're so effective. It's worth every minute. Things get done. We'll ask for things like different flyers, and they're done before our hour is up. So it's just awesome, extremely effective.
If you don't use Clay and his team, you're probably going to be pulling your hair out, or you're going to spend half of your time trying to figure out the online marketing game and producing your own flyers and marketing materials, print materials, all the stuff like that. You're really losing a lot as far as lost productivity and lost time. Not having a professional do it, it has a real sense of urgency and that actually knows what they're doing when you already have something that's your core focus that you already know how to do.
You would also be missing out with all the time and financial freedom that you would have working with Clay and his team.
We would recommend Clay and his team to other business owners because they need to be working on their business, not just trying to figure out the online game, which is complex and changing daily. So no one has a marketing team too. Most people don't. They can't afford one, and their local web guy or a local person that they know probably can't do everything that a whole team and a whole floor of people can do in hours and not just weeks or months. There's a definite sense of urgency with Clay and his team. I used to have to ride other web people, really ride them to get stuff done, and stuff is done so fast here, and there's a real sense of urgency to get it done.
JT, do you know what time it is?
4:10.
It's Tebow time in Tulsa, Jerusalem, baby. Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma during the month of Christmas, December 5th and 6th, 2024. Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show Business Growth Workshop. Yes, folks, put it in your calendar. This December, the month of Christmas, December 5th and 6th, Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma in the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business growth workshop. We've been doing business conferences here since 2005. I've been hosting business conferences since 2005. What year were you born?
1995.
Dude, I've been hosting business conferences since you were 10 years old. And a lot of people, have followed Tim Tebow's football career on the field and off the field. And off the field, the guy's been just as successful as he has been on the field. Now, the big question is, JT, how does he do it?
Well, they're going to have to come and find out because I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, Tim Tebow's going to teach us how he organizes his day, how he organizes his life, how he's proactive with his faith, his family, his finances. He's going to walk us through his mindset that he brings into the gym, into business. It is going to be a blasty blast in Tulsa, Jerusalem. Folks, I'm telling you, if you want to learn branding, you want to learn marketing, you want to learn search engine optimization, you want to learn social media marketing, that's what we teach at the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive workshop. If you want to learn accounting, you want to learn sales systems, you want to learn how to build a linear workflow, you want to learn how to franchise your business, that is what we teach at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show business workshop. Over the years, we've had the opportunity to feature Michael Levine, the PR consultant of choice for Nike, for Prince, for Michael Jackson. We've had the top PR consultant in the history of the planet has spoken at the Thrivetime Show workshops. We've had Jill Donovan, the founder of RusticCuff.com, a company that creates apparel worn by celebrities all throughout the world. Jill Donovan, the founder of RusticCuff.com, has spoken at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show business workshops. We have the man who's responsible for turning around Harley Davidson, a man by the name of Ken Schmidt. He has spoken at the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshops. Folks, I'm telling you, these events are going to teach you what you need to know to start and grow a successful business. And the way we price the events, the way we do these events, is you can pay $250 for a ticket or whatever price that you can afford. What? Yes, we've designed these events to be affordable for you, and we want to see you live and in person at the 2-day interactive December 5th and 6th Thrivetime Show Business Workshop. Everything that you need to succeed will be taught at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show Business Workshop, December 5th and 6th in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And the way we do these events is we teach for 30 minutes, and then we open it up for a question and answer session so that wonderful people like you can have your questions answered. Yes, we teach for 30 minutes, and then we open it up for a 15-minute question and answer session. It's interactive. It's 2 days. It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've been doing these events since 2005, and I'm telling you, folks, it's going to blow your mind. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshop is America's highest rated and most reviewed business workshop. See the thousands of video testimonials from real people just like you who've been able to build multi-million-dollar companies. Watch those testimonials today at thrivetimeshow.com. Simply by clicking on the testimonials button right there at thrivetimeshow.com, you're going to see thousands of people just like you who've been able to go from just surviving to thriving. Whoa. Each and every day, we're going to add more and more speakers to this all-star lineup, but I encourage everybody out there today, get those tickets today. Go to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com. And some people might be saying, well, how do I do it? What do I do? How does it work? You just go to thrivetimeshow.com. Let's go there now. We're feeling the flow. We're going to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, you just go to thrivetimeshow.com. You click on the business conferences button, and you click on the request tickets button right there. The way I do our conferences is we tell people it's $250 to get a ticket.
Yep.
Or whatever price that you can afford. And the reason why I do that is I grew up without money. JT, you're in the process of building a super successful company. Did you start out with $1 million in the bank account?
No, I did not. Nope, did not get any loans, nothing like that. Did not get an inheritance from parents or anything like that. I had to work for it, and I'm super grateful. I came to a business conference. That's actually how I met you, met Peter Taunton. I met all these people.
So if you're out there today and you want to come to our workshop, again, you just got to go to thrivetimeshow.com. You might say, well, who's speaking? We already covered that. You might say, where's it going to be? It's going to be in Tulsa, Jerusalem, Oklahoma. And someone says, Tulsa, Jerusalem. I'm really trying to rebrand Tulsa as Tulsa, Jerusalem, sort of like the Jerusalem of America. But if you type in Thrivetime Show and Jinx, you can get a sneak peek or a look at our office facility. This is what it looks like. This is where you're headed. It's going to be a blasty blast. You can look inside, see the facility. We're going to have hundreds of entrepreneurs here. It is going to be packed. Now, for this particular event, folks, the seating is always limited because my facility isn't a limitless convention center. You're coming to my actual home office, and so it's going to be packed. Who? You're going to come. Who? I'm talking to you. You can just get your tickets right now at thrivetimeshow.com. And again, You can name your price. We tell people it's $250 or whatever price you can afford. And we do have some select VIP tickets, which gives you an access to meet some of the speakers and those sorts of things. And those tickets are $500. It's a 2-day interactive business workshop, over 20 hours of business training. We're going to give you a copy of my newest book, The Millionaire's Guide to Becoming Sustainably Rich. You're going to leave with a workbook. You're going to leave with everything you need to know to start and grow a super successful company. It's practical, it's actionable, and it's Tebow time right here in Tulsa, Jerusalem. Get those tickets today at thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com.
Hello, I'm Michael Levine, and I'm talking to you right now from the center of Hollywood, California, where I have represented over the last 35 years 58 Academy Award winners, 34 Grammy Award winners, 43 New York Times bestsellers. I've represented a lot of major stars, and I've worked with a lot of major companies. And I think I've learned a few things about what makes them work and what makes them not work. Now, why would a man living in Hollywood, California, in the beautiful sunny weather of LA, come to Tulsa? Because last year I did it, and it was damn exciting. Clay Clark has put together an exceptional presentation, really life-changing, and I'm looking forward to seeing you then. I'm Michael Levine. I'll see you in Tulsa.
Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshops are the world's highest rated and most reviewed business workshops because we teach you what you need to know to grow.
You can learn the proven 13-point business systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used over and over to start and grow successful companies. I mean, we get into the specific steps on what you need to do to optimize your website. We're going to teach you how to fix your conversion rate. We're going to teach you how to do a social media marketing campaign that works. How do you raise capital? How do you get a small business loan? We teach you everything you need to know here during a 2-day, 15-hour workshop. It's all here for you. You work every day in your business, but for 2 days you can escape and work on your business and build these proven systems so now you can have a successful company that will produce both the time freedom and the financial freedom that you deserve. You're going to leave energized, motivated, but you're also going to leave empowered. The reason why I've built these workshops is because as an entrepreneur, I always wish that I had this. And because there wasn't anything like this, I would go to these motivational seminars, no money down, real estate, Ponzi scheme, get motivated seminars, and they would never teach me anything. It was like you went there and you paid for the big chocolate Easter bunny, but inside of it, it was a hollow nothingness. And I wanted the knowledge, and they're like, oh, but we'll teach you the knowledge after our next workshop. And the great thing is we have nothing to upsell. At every workshop, we teach you what you need to know. There's no one in the back of the room trying to sell you some next big get-rich-quick, walk-on-hot coals product. It's literally, we teach you the brass tacks, the specific stuff that you need to know to learn how to start and grow a business. And I encourage you to not believe what I'm saying, and I want you to Google the Z66 auto auction. I want you to Google elephant in the room. Look at Robert Zellner and Associates. Look them up and say, are they successful because they're geniuses, or are they successful because they have a proven system? When you do that research, you will discover that the same systems that we use in our own business can be used in your business. Come to Tulsa, book a ticket, and I guarantee you it's going to be the best business workshop ever, and we'll even give you your money back if you don't love it. We've built this facility for you, and we're excited to see you.
And now you may be thinking, what does it actually cost to attend an in-person 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show business workshop? Well, good news. The tickets are $250 or whatever price that you can afford. What? Yes, they're $250 or whatever price you can afford. I grew up without money, and I know what it's like to live without money. So if you're out there today and you want to attend our in-person 2-day interactive business workshop, all you got to do is go to thrivetimeshow.com to request those tickets. And if you can't afford $250, we have scholarship pricing available to make it affordable for you.
I learned at the Academy, Kings Point in New York, acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say.
Whoa. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. Today I'm broadcasting from Phoenix, Arizona, not Scottsdale, Arizona. They're close, but they're completely different worlds. And we have a special guest today. Definition of intelligence is if you agree with me, you're intelligent. And so this gentleman is very intelligent. I've done his show before also. but very seldom do you find somebody who lines up on all counts. And it's a Mr. Clay Clark. He's a friend of a good friend, Eric Trump. But we're also talking about money, bricks, and how screwed up the world can get in a few and a half hour. So Clay Clark is a very intelligent man, and there's so many ways we could take this thing. But I thought, since you and Eric are close, Trump, what were you saying about what Trump can't, what Donald, who's my age, and I can say or cannot say?
Well, I have to, first of all, I have to honor you, sir. I want to show you what I did to one of your books here. There's a guy by the name of Jeremy Thorne, who was my boss at the time. I was 19 years old, working at Faith Highway. I had a job at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. And he said, have you read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? And I said, no. And my father, may he rest in peace, he didn't know these financial principles. So I started reading all of your books and really devouring your books. And I went from being an employee to self-employed, to the business owner, to the investor. And I owe a lot of that to you. And I just wanted to take a moment to tell you, thank you so much for allowing me to achieve success. And then I'll tell you all about Eric Trump. But I just want to tell you, thank you, sir, for changing my life.
But not only that, Clay, thank you, but you become an influencer. More than anything else, you've evolved into an influencer where your word has more and more power. So that's why I congratulate you on becoming. Because as you know, there's a lot of fake influencers out there too, or bad influencers.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad you and I agree so much, and thanks for reading my books.
Yeah.
That's the greatest thrill for me today. Not a thrill, but recognition is when people, young men especially, come up and say, I read your book, changed my life. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this.
I learned at the Academy, Kings Point in New York, acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say. Whoa.